Greetings, all you Jackson Jennets, and welcome to your daily dose of donkey with Ginger. This is Steelers Talk. I'm once again joined by Mutant Gingy and Laskers. Boys, tell me about last week.
Yo, Mutant Gingy in the house. Last week, donkey, was a big egg. Big fat squadouche. Not liking what I'm seeing. Laskers.
How about you, Laskers?
I'm glad I went to the Slipknot concert and couldn't watch the game last week, because I think I made the right choice. From what I've seen,
that's a
not
fair thing.
good.
Yeah, another loss for Steelers, another win for every other team in the division, putting us back another game. Not a great sign. But before we get into this, the start of this week maybe has a positive sign for the Steelers, a bad sign for Seahawks fans. I mean, if you saw Russell Wilson whack his hand off Aaron Donald and then not be able to straighten his finger, ouch, that looked bad. So Steelers next week get to play Geno Smith, who, if you watched him perform, actually looked pretty good, and the offense moved the ball a little better with Geno Smith than it did with Russell Wilson. I don't expect that to be a permanent thing, but hey, Steelers, we get to play a backup quarterback. We tend to beat backup quarterbacks, or do we tend to lose the backup quarterbacks? I guess it depends on the backup quarterback, but maybe a good thing going forward for the Steelers. But before we get to that, Gingy, break down that Packers game for me.
Oh, man. Donkey beat on all three phases of the football, really. The offense is giving me... I'm not going to say nothing, all right? Because there was a touchdown in the first quarter that was relatively inspiring.
The one drive mirage. Hear me out.
The one
Big
drive.
Ben. The one drive mirage. He gives you just enough hope that maybe there's something there to break your spirits when you realize you were wrong.
You see, my hope, Donkey, was that by scoring a touchdown on the opening drive, which you know that I mentioned to you as a gain during the game as a very positive sign that I thought, but there really wasn't nothing to be followed up with there. That was about a wrap on the whole afternoon, Donkey. You could have stopped watching right there and been satisfied.
Yeah. You're not buying the whole Steeler bit of the only reason we lost is because of the refs thing? You're not buying that?
Well, we'll get to that, Donkey. I'm not buying that the only... Clearly, there are many reasons why the Steelers lost that game. Many. Too many to list in 1.5 hour podcast, Donkey. But they didn't get it done on either side of the football. It was disappointing.
I really don't like how Ben has as many touchdowns as he has interceptions. That's getting pretty ridiculous when we're in week 4.
The bigger problem isn't the interceptions. You know Ben's going to throw them. He always has. Last year was an anomaly where he didn't throw many. I think the bigger problem is he's not throwing the touchdowns. And Laskers, if I was to tell you Ben missed 3 wide open receivers for touchdowns, you would be like, did I really miss the game, or was it just a repeat of the last 3 weeks?
I don't think he'd be lying. I think I'd believe it.
I'm not. There was a play in particular that I'm not sure if I'm more mad at Ben for or I'm more mad at Juju for. Because Ben did overthrow Juju, but I still feel full-heartedly if Juju goes all out and dives for that ball, he catches it, Gingy. I think you know what I'm talking about. The first miss, second quarter or late first quarter in the game.
Yeah.
Huge time.
Only disappointment there, though, Donkey. I mean, that's football. They didn't connect on that one, but the key word there you said, the first miss, right? That implies multiple misses on an open Juju Smith-Schuster. You see, you look at the Steelers. You look at the Steelers box score, Donkey, and I'm not gonna lie. The way that the offense played reflects a lot of what I've been wanting. You know, Ben Roethlisberger with 40 pass attempts, keeping it lower. Najee with 15 runs on the ground, averaging 4 a carry. Not great, but
4.1.
Better.
You're still talking like a 75-25 split, though. I mean, Laskers, can you do the math on me and tell me what the split is? Because I think at most you can have is a 60-40, and that's at most. I prefer a 55-45 with this version of Ben, but we're not seeing it. And Gingy, we were in the game and we abandoned the run. If you look at how many runs we had after the first quarter, this is reminiscent of what killed the team last year. Is even when we're in a game, if we're down a single score like 3 points, Ben decides it's time for Ben ball. And say what you want, you have an offensive coordinator who's trying to design a game plan that just gets changed by the quarterback. And he's already admitted that Ben changes plays at the line, that Ben gets to what Ben wants. I don't think a Matt Canada offense that's designed about, I'm going to run this play right now to set up a play in the fourth quarter, which is what he did when he was at Pitt. I don't think that offense can work with Ben Roethlisberger because Ben's not going to run the play that's designed to not necessarily be successful the first time, but what it's designed to do is set the defense up later in the game. I don't know if you can do that with a quarterback who changes the plays.
73-27.
So quick math was really, really close. There's what you're telling me?
Mm-hmm.
Let's go. Still got it. But Gingy, you tell me, am I wrong here? Am I missing something?
I don't know about plays at the line. I'm not in the huddle. Donkey. I complained about specific things last week. We were talking about the run game. We saw a little bit more of it. We saw a couple longer plays happen. You know, Deontay caught one 40-plus yards. James Washington had one 25-plus yards. They just did not. The offense did not execute when they needed to. We talk a lot about momentum and, you know, big play stoppers, and those misses, they needed to have those that week. And Ben is not getting it done.
So there's 3 things to me that I feel are major points from this game. Well, let's get through some streaks first that ended. The Steelers, for the first time in 9 games, scored a point in the first quarter. For the first time in 10 games, scored a point and a touchdown on their first drive. But there's a new streak added here that I think shows you the state of the Pittsburgh Steelers. 9 straight games, the Steelers have been losing by at least 2 scores. In 9 straight games, the Steelers have been down by at least 2 scores. That shows me a weakness on both offense and defense, because if you have a great defense, you should never really be down 2 scores. And, 9 straight games, guys. You can't make that up. That means the last time the Steelers didn't trail by 2 scores in a game, Bud Dupree was playing. Devin Bush was still before a torn ACL. Okay, maybe not that far. No, it was.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah. You're talking... That's something that can't happen for a team that has any type of aspiration of winning football.
Yeah, Donkey, I don't know. The Steelers, in my mind, that defense, it doesn't have the pass coverage it needs in order to be able to get home anymore. There needs to be another lockdown guy out there. Steven Nelson would have been... That was a huge loss, you know.
Cam Sutton's hurt this week. Uh-oh.
And that means we get to see more of he who shall not be named.
Yes, thank you. I do appreciate that. Anyway, Laskers, I got a question for you. So we're talking, you have one player who has persistently been the problem, and this leads to what I am starting to sour on Mike Tomlin because of. There's preferential treatment given to one player on this team. Can you tell me who that is?
It's still Ben.
Exactly.
We
he
talked
doesn't even
about
have to
it
practice on
ago.
Wednesdays. You're talking the weakest point on the offense. And yes, Gingy, if you want to argue to me the weakest point on the offense is the dang tight end, I can't remember.
It's still Ebron.
Yeah, I won't
still
argue.
Is.
But Ebron caught both the balls thrown his way last week, so let's give him a little break. One of the weakest points on the offense, or at least the biggest concern on the offense, since he's the only one who touches the ball every play, is Ben Roethlisberger, but he keeps getting days off. And what makes me more mad is every week what he says is, we're just a little way away from gelling. We just need more time to gel. If you need more time to gel, do you not think practicing an extra day would help, Laskers?
I definitely think it would help. And also, subtract Najee from it. Exactly on the offense, really, who does he need to gel with?
I think he more meant the whole offensive line needs to not suck. I think it was like a civil way of telling the offensive line to block someone, personally, but I don't know. That's a fair point. Firemuth, I guess we could say.
Yeah, that would be the other person.
maybe Cody White, who just got added to the roster, since he seems to be getting more and more snaps with the receiving core, getting one injury every week. So, I don't know, maybe. But to be fair, Cody White was here last year on the practice squad, so whatever. Gingy, preferential treatment, a bad thing for you, or is it something they should do?
Did we lose Gingy?
I don't know what the deal is there, really, with Ben and the preferential treatment. I'm not sure. I don't agree with it because for the exact reasons that you said. I don't know what goes on there. Does he just? What does he do? What does he do on practice on Wednesdays? He runs this team
and he runs this organization.
No. What does he do on practice on Wednesdays? You think, Ben? Does he? I mean, he doesn't practice, but he's there.
Right? Are you sure he's there?
Are you sure he's there?
You see what I'm saying? I don't know what he's doing, man. If he's training
to become an OC.
If he's given his 389-year-old body like extra medical treatment and attention, I can't really wreck him for that. But I don't know what he's doing because he needs that. He looks real stiff out there, Donkey. He looks a little stiff.
He does, and that leads me to my next point. The whole Ben preferential treatment is: does Mike Tomlin have the ability to bench Ben Roethlisberger, or is this a call that was made above him? Genji, will go to you, and then we'll go to Laskers. What do you think?
Yeah, no, I don't think Tomlin can bench him. I don't think he can. I don't think that's happening. I think that, I don't know, Tomlin's a sly guy. He might have the ability to, try to sway Ben one way in a direction, depending on how things are going for the team, yada, yada, kind of, if it's Ben's idea,
keep
it's all
starting
good.
Dan Moore Jr. until Ben gets hurt?
That probably won't be very long if he's lining up against Von Miller this week. Good heavens, Donkey. Probably won't be very long. I don't know. I don't know what's going on there with Prefer. I do see him out every Wednesday. I'd like to know what he's doing. Should be taking reps, in my opinion.
You think Tomlin can bench Ben, or you think it's above him?
I think it's above him, but I'm not sure what Rooney is really thinking. I think he needs to get it, and this is going to sound really bad, I think he needs to get his head out of his ass and figure it out.
Yeah, he needs to stop being interfering, because look what happens when owners interfere. Teams go bad. Look at Dallas, look at Oakland. I mean, owners should own, GM should GM, and coaches should coach.
Well,
I don't know what's going on with the Steelers.
Here's the thing for you. Do you know that the Rooneys and the Maras, the owners of the Giants, are interrelated? So, what happened to the Giants a few years ago? Yeah, they sucked.
Oh, is that why we're afraid to bench Ben, because of their whole debacle of benching Eli?
I think it's interrelated.
Oh, that's funny. Anyway, so there's one last point that will be the point that brings me forward thinking, and why I think Steeler fans, you should not lose hope yet. I believe the silver lining is in what I'm about to talk about. And it's, I don't know if this defense is elite. I don't know if it ever really was. Because if you look at the last 2 years, there's one really concerning stat to me. And that's if you want to take the metrics any way you want to take them, QBR, QB rating, whatever your favorite quarterback stat is, the Steelers only play top 15 or top half quarterbacks about a third of the time. So this defense, what it did is this defense has really built great stats off playing bottom tier quarterbacks. They've played 8 quarterbacks who didn't qualify for end-of-year stats because they were backups over this time. They've played 11 top 15 quarterback-rated quarterbacks between 2019 and 2020. So that's 33 games. They only played 11. They played 12 in the QBR rankings. What I'm seeing is these last 4 games, you could argue, can we say that probably all 4 of these quarterbacks are going to end the year at top 15 in rating metrics? All 4 of them?
Yes.
Is that fair? Gingy, fair?
Yeah.
Okay, what if I was to tell you that 23.25 points per game, which is what we allowed, is actually what we normally have allowed over both of the past 2 years when facing a quarterback who's in the top in quarterback rating? Specifically, in 2019, we gave up 26 points a game to the top rating quarterbacks. So the top QBRs was 22 points a game. In 2020, to the top rating quarterbacks was 24.7 points per game or 24.8 points a game, depending on rating or QBR. And only one time did we hold a top 15 quarterback under 20 points, and that is when we played Baker Mayfield last year and held the Browns to 7. That was the only time the Steelers defense held a top 15 quarterback under 20 points. We did that once this year, and we won that game too when we did it against Allen. But the thing is, what if I was to tell you the defense performance since Bud Dupree, the turnovers are down by about a turnover a game, the sacks are down about a sacks a game. I can read you the stats if you want. If you don't, then we could just talk about it. You can take my word for it. I do have the stats right in front of me if you want me to read them. But what I'm trying to say is why the Steelers fans should be happy is this performance against top 15 quarterbacks is going to slow down. We're not going to face them every week. We're going to face a lot more than we have, obviously, this year. But we're about to go against Teddy Bridgewater or Drew Lock, not a top 15 quarterback. After that, it's Geno Smith, not a top 15 quarterback. So you're talking if the Steelers perform the way they have in the past, although playing against backups is really risky business for us. We all know that, so that might be scary. But if they perform, the defense performs, makes these games ugly, the offense just doesn't turn the ball over, you're 3-3 at the bye week, and the world is not over. So I'm saying going into this Broncos thing, playing a bottom-tier quarterback, Gingy, it's time to start this defense doing what it's did. But does it surprise you to hear that that's how our defense has performed against upper-level quarterbacks?
I'd have to think about that, Donkey. When you say performed in terms of metrics, points scored, I'd have to know. Again, for me, you know me, Donkey. You are a stats guy, and you know I am too. But I appreciate a lot of rhythm and pace of the game. You know, is it a shootout? Is it a 26-32 game? Or these games where they're scoring 20-plus points, is that 27-7? Is it a true domination? Or, you know, what? Because there's a lot of ebb and flow to these games that go back and forth depending on whether the offenses are ramped up that day or whether they're not.
I will tell you, most of them were 30s to 20s or high 20s to 20 since we won a lot of them. We also have the terrible loss to the Browns in there. We have the 48-7 romping of the Browns in there. But most of them are one-score, potentially two-score games.
But at the end of the day, I'm not really surprised that top-tier quarterbacks beat zone defense. Like you said earlier, that isn't the biggest shocker to me. So, no, the Steelers, they win those games, Donkey, and that's something we talked about yesterday too in terms of big plays, big show-stopping defensive plays, Donkey, turnovers against the other team when they're in our red zone. Things like that are what let the Steelers beat better teams, technically more technically sound teams than them. They could beat those teams because of eruptions from their defense like that. That is happening less and less.
Yeah, and that's been since the Bud Dupree injury. Those splash plays have gone away. We have not scored a defensive touchdown since the Bud Dupree injury when we had 3, I think, in the 11 games of 2020 with him. Laskers, before I let you chime in on this whole, is the defense really a leader or was it a mirage thing? I want to add one little caveat to this conversation. And that is, going forward, getting Mac Baby Steph onto it, do you think the Steelers have the potential to add more turnovers to this defense? Or is the loss of big splash guys like Mike Hilton, Bud Dupree on the pass rush, is that too much to overcome? Or is the future still potential to be breaking up these lower quarterback guys?
Oh boy. I think the potential's still there. It's going to take a lot of effort, but I actually think the bigger potential is on the special teams more so than the defense.
God bless us if we have to believe in Danny Smith. All right, and Laskers, one other thing I'd like to point out is, has the Steelers' recent flop against big teams been a schematical problem? I'd like to point out, do you know what like the last 10 Super Bowl components have in common in terms of the way they play defense?
Takeaways.
they play predominantly man-to-man defense. What do the Pittsburgh Steelers play?
Zone and prevent.
Predominantly zone. Is the Steelers' problem against top-tier offensive quarterbacks a problem of scheme rather than players? Is the problem just that zone defenses can't beat good quarterbacks? Or is it the problem that the players aren't playing good enough in these zones?
I think it's that good quarterbacks can beat the zone pretty easily.
Gingy, do you agree with this? And is this why Tom Brady always spanked us?
Oh yeah, I said that. I agree. Yeah, guys like Tom Brady, guys like Aaron Rodgers, they're going to be able to. If you can read a good defense, if you read a defense well, you got to be able to counteract that playmaker somehow. And again, that leads me back to my previous discussion about there's got to be a big playmaker on defense. Big Minka pick, big TJ strip sack, something big that quarterback doesn't see coming. Because a wily veteran like a Drew Brees when he was out there, or, the guys like you said, Tom Brady's and Russell Wilson's and Aaron Rodgers, they're going to see what's coming, so you got to throw something at them they don't see coming. And that's how you beat those quarterbacks with zone defense.
Or average getting to the quarterback in under 2.5 seconds. I mean, that's really a huge, huge thing that can happen.
And
Ola Adeni has more sacks this year than any other outside linebacker not named TJ Watt on the Steelers. So that tells you about how well that's been going.
It's pressure on the quarterback, Donkey, but I'd like to identify specifically it's pressure up the middle, right at that Cam Hayward spot, Donkey. That's what we're talking about traditionally that has worked well against those quarterbacks.
It's not Cam Hayward's fault that Isaiah Loudermilk and, who's the other guy that I always forget? 95, what's his name? Someone help me out here, I'm drawing a blank. Chris Wormley. It's not his fault that he's getting a double team every play because those guys can't beat one-on-one with a wet noodle, okay? It's not Cam's fault that the other defensive end is performing like hot garbage, all right?
Well,
that gets us into we definitely need to talk about the Broncos, what the Broncos bring, what the Broncos don't bring. Do we want to say Teddy Bridgewater's going to start? I think it's fair to say.
I think so.
He got cleared? Bridgewater there.
He got cleared by an independent doctor, but not the team doctor. But I think he did on Friday, maybe. I'm not sure.
I'm going to say Teddy's going to play. They have some fast playmakers out there. I mean, that wide receiving core is fast. Why can't I think of the tight end's name now? But he did some nasty to us last time we played. And you're talking a team that has a decent running game, specifically a power running game running right off guard. That tends to hurt the Steelers a little bit. I mean, that's why Baltimore runs for so many yards against us. That's why RG3 almost beat us. It's because that interior running game, the Steelers really, really struggle with. Because a lot of times, those linebackers that are trying to get to the quarterback are way out of position for an interior run. It's why you see them run at TJ Watt. Like, every team runs at TJ Watt. This is a team that's built to stop us, but really if the Steelers show up, this is one of the few teams where our talent level is definitely a clear step above theirs in terms of defense versus offense. So what to you is the number one key for our offense to stop Teddy Bridgewater-led Broncos? Laskers, you want to go first? Laskers, you fall asleep? It's okay, we forgive you.
Oh no, my mic was muted. Sorry. Yeah, I actually said you meant defense because you said offense, and I think the biggest thing is going to be getting to the quarterback.
Do you have a player you're looking to be the X factor then?
I think we're gonna need JJ Watt to turn it up. TJ Watt. Yep. You knew what I meant.
We could probably use JJ Watt at this point.
Yeah, we could. We should have signed him.
Gingy, I know you've been talking splash plays and all that, so lead me to your key for the defense to take this game and make it ugly, and your X factor for the game.
Keeping Teddy Bridgewater bottled up, making sure that everything stays in front of him, not letting anything go deep. X factor going to be Joe Hayden, being able to stay at home on the pass coverage, long enough to let some of our premier pass rushers get to this guy.
I hear you, Ned. I think the key is coverage. I think you have to keep Teddy locked down throwing the ball, and I think the X factor has to be Devin Bush because we have to stop the running backs and the tight ends coming out, and Devin Bush has been the one struggling the most at it. I think he's the most important Steeler to this game because if you let Noah Fant, thank God I remembered his name, get going, it could be a long game. Now, let's turn to the offensive side. Gingy, what does this team have to do to get it going? What does one drive mirage Big Ben have to do to be more than a one drive mirage?
Stay consistent with what we were doing. Make the plays in the big moments. What worked? What worked on the start of the big drive, Donkey? The first play of the game. Come out, big gash up the middle. That was Najee for 12 yards, 14 yards on one of the first plays of the game. Kicked off a touchdown drive. We've said it before. Sounds like a broken record. The Steelers are not going to win with Ben Roethlisberger throwing 55 times. He is not the hero, okay? This has got to be a team effort on offense, and it's got to start with consistency on the running game.
Laskers, you big key, big X factor you're looking at?
I'm actually going to agree with Gingy. It's got to come from the run. 4.1 yards, it's way better than we've done all year, but it's still not acceptable for the Steelers.
Something to build on.
It's something to build on, but 4.1 yards with 15 carries just is not enough.
I hear you both. I like that, but I think we're ignoring the biggest X factor. We're starting two offensive tackles who suck. Chuks Okorafor, Dan Moore Jr. suck. That's the nicest way to put it. Denver Broncos have a guy by the name of Von Miller. Thank God Bradley Chubb's hurt, by the way, because if it was Bradley Chubb and Von Miller, I could almost guarantee you Ben Roethlisberger's going to die. Luckily, Bradley Chubb's hurt, Von Miller's playing, so the biggest X factor is, do you think either of those guys, even with help, are going to be able to calm down Von Miller long enough for him not to influence the game?
Gingy?
Going to be a tough ride, Donkey. Going to be a really tough ride there. I don't know. That doesn't look good on paper, does it?
No. Maybe one of those two guys will earn my respect after this week, but I am not holding my breath. Also, a Pittsburgh Steelers wide receiver threw a tantrum last week. That tends to lead to 20 targets next week. So if I was the Denver Broncos, do you know who I'd be locking down this week?
Got to double up Juju.
Yeah, gotta. He saw him throw the tantrum. If this is like Antonio Brown, Mike Wallace era Steelers, you know damn well Juju's about to get thrown the ball 20 times this week after the tantrum on the sideline. That's the way the Steelers seem to do it now. It's a, hey, if you throw a temper tantrum, we're going to appease you. We did it last year with Deontay Johnson. I don't think it's necessarily a good look, but I'll be honest. Denver, if you're listening, which I doubt you are, make sure you cover Juju, because he going to get the football. He going to get it a lot. Let's see if he's worth the money. Let's see if it was worth making sure that Juju was priority number one in the offseason. But I don't know about that. I'm a little nervous. So that gives us to, I think we covered it pretty well. Unless you guys have anything else, we can get into predictions. You want to lead it off, Gingy?
Steelers, got to bring one home in Heinz Field. This is for the heart. It's starting to slip away. We're in a hell of a division, Donkey. All right.
Yeah, we are.
Looking at three other formidable teams. Steelers need to come away with a win at home this week. I am calling Ben Roethlisberger comes out of the slump, scoring 27 points. Steelers by 10, 27-17 at home. Gonna right the ship, Donkey. Gotta right the ship this week.
I like it. All right. I like it. Laskers, what you feeling?
I'm not feeling Gingy's moves. I'm actually gonna go with a lose 20-10.
All right.
20-10.
Steelers
10.
Steelers perform well when their back's against the wall. Steelers always do enough to give you hope. Steelers always crush you late in the season. This isn't late in the season. This is the time the Steelers make a run. It starts now. We get to the bye week 3-3. So we're going to beat the Broncos. It is an ugly football game. It's a game that still makes everyone question if Big Ben can do it because the key in the game is an 88-yard touchdown by Minkah Fitzpatrick on a pick six in the early part of the third quarter. Steelers win 17-14 thanks to the defense.
Hell yeah.
By the way, if Minkah gets an 88-yard pick six, someone needs to hire me to be a color commentator. I'm just saying. But anyway, so that'll bring us to shout-outs, because it seems like we covered everything going on in Steelerland. So, shout-outs this week. We'll let Gingy go first.
You know what? No more shout-outs for me till I see a W. And that's on the record. Last shout-out I threw out there was a moral victory. And upon review, I am not very pleased with my last shout-out to Terrell Edmonds. No more shout-outs for nobody
Don't be hating on T
until we get a win,
there-
donkey. That's
No,
my
no
final
hate allowed on the
answer.
podcast to T-Boogie.
That's the... No more shout-outs till a dub. Maybe next week, dog. Magic 8 Ball says
Alright,
try
last
again
year's-
later.
My shout out to Joe Hayden. You weren't offside, buddy.
Fair. I'm surprised we didn't cover that more in detail. I mean, refs missed some calls, but yeah.
I don't think
My
it changed
shout
the
out has to
outcome.
go. You know me. You hit a record, you get a shout out, right? We had someone hit 400 touchdowns. That's pretty impressive. My shout outs to Ben. You aren't playing very good, but you're setting records. So, hey, it is what it is. Here's my shout out to you.
I will go on record saying Hayden was not offsides. Not sure if it changed the outcome of the game, but it sure
I
did
don't know
change
if
the
it
way
is
the rest
either.
of the game was. I think it changed the way the rest of the game was played. Not sure if it changed the outcome, though.
I hate officials in the sky because that's going to lead to every little tic-tac call getting called. When you play on the edge, sometimes you get them, sometimes you don't. Troy Polamalu played on the edge. He was offsides as often as he made the jumping tackles. So it is what it is. I don't think it influenced the game because if you want to talk about missed calls, you have a trip on TJ Watt and you have an OPI on Deontay Johnson. Which, by the way, shout out to Deontay Johnson. You're finally learning how to do the little smart things veteran receivers do and not drop the football. There is still hope for you performing into a lower tier 1 receiver. So good on you. I guess I have 2 shout outs since we're going to bring that up. I want to give out the little pleasant push off move by DJ a shout out because I loved it. But that brings us to the time where we let you know how to reach us, what's going on, all the future stuff. I know I missed my Power Ranking show this week. Don't worry, I'll be back next week with the advanced stats added in, so it'll be even better. Maybe I'll have Laskers and Gingy throw me there so we can put up a side-by-side comparison or some stuff. I don't know.
Super hype.
But you know where to reach us. It's your Daily Dose of Donkey with Ginger on the YouTube, Twitch, Twitter. You reach me at Viking_Donkey, Xbox, Viking Donkey, and hey, you have any questions, you have any comments, you want to join in, you want to tell us this, you want to have me and the guys look at another team that you're a fan of, feel free to let us know. Leave a comment, leave a like, leave a sub, whatever it is you want to do. And I'll send it over to Laskers to go to Gingy to sign it out.
Find me on Laskers everywhere, and that's about it. Go to Gingy.
Laskers everywhere all day. I like it. This is Mutant Gingy. We're on Xbox Live. We rocking it out. Diablo 2 Resurrected. Y'all know it. We all love it. It's fantastic. You know what, Steelers Nation? We're in a desperate need of a victory. Bringing it back to Hines this week. Everybody better wave them if they got them. Let's go, Steelers.